Call tonight's meeting to order. Tonight is the March 18th, 2025 Board of Selectmen regular meeting. I'm Bob Carlson, the first selectman. Also, we have Selectwoman Nicole Porter. Absent this evening is Selectman Brett Mastriani. We do have Admin Finance Director Suzanne Thero. We'll start with the Pledge of Allegiance.
To the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, as we normally do, there's many ways to public comment in a Board of Selectmen meeting. You can do it now, which is public comment on non-agenda items, because if you've been to our meetings, you know that when we hit an agenda item, you're also welcome to comment when we're talking about a particular agenda item. So if it's something that's not on the agenda tonight that you want to speak about, by all means, you can get up and introduce yourself and tell us what you would like to say. And if there's anyone online that'd like to raise their hand and make a comment before we start, you're more than welcome. No one online that I can see? No one in the audience? Okay. In that case, we'll move on to number 4. And we're going to approve minutes from March 4th.
So I don't know how you want to vote on these because
You can motion, I can second, and we'll vote.
but I'm going to abstain because I wasn't here.
We can table the minutes to the next meeting if you want.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
I'll make a motion to table the approval of the minutes until we can all three be together.
Yeah, that's understandable since you weren't here and Brett's not here to vote. So, okay, that's fine. So we'll table those to April 1st, I think is our next meeting. All right, very good. Is there any selectmen comments from you, Nicole?
No.
No, okay. First selectmen comments. I'll probably mostly comment on the budget when we get to that line item. Other than that, did you get the invitation from the school that wanted us to?
Yeah, is it the 25th?
I think it's the 21st of May.
Oh, of May? Or
Yeah, May. It's 21st of May because we're doing a touch a truck thing for the elementary school that day. It's Wellness Day.
yes, okay.
And I think they wanted myself, you, and Brett if we
I
could.
don't know why I thought that it was in March.
I can look at it. It's May 21st, I think.
Well, then that is something that I can probably arrange to do. I have that much time.
I think they just want us to talk to the students about civics and town government and so on.
Mhm.
I did go and teach a second grade class again last week it was amazing. Taught them about how to do a budget. Some of those people could come over here and work with us, but how to do a budget and also a little bit about how town government works. And instead of doing the budget that we're doing now, they did a budget to go to Disney World and they had $800 to spend. And I had place cards with different things like a more expensive plane with no stops versus a plane that had 2 stops, an expensive hotel versus non-expensive, big rent-a-car versus, and they were amazing. They actually did not spend much money on travel or hotel. They saved it for being at the park. And then the 3 Board of Selectmen that we appointed, they got mad at the Board of Education because the Board of Education overspent and they wanted to know why they were spending some of their money. These are second graders. So I said, you should come work for the town when you get older. Anyway, yeah, art imitates life, they say.
Yes.
So that's about it for comment. Bridge appropriation, which is in, so if you remember when were you here when we went over this the first time? I think so, right? The Boom Bridge appropriation that I have to go to the Board of Finance with for $9,582.84.
Yes.
So my fault. When I went to the Board of Finance, they noticed that I had transposed 2 numbers. I think I had it as 9,528 instead of 9,582. I had to go back, find the original paperwork, fix the numbers, which we've already approved this once, but with the wrong numbers on it. So I just we need to approve it again. And this is for those that don't remember what happened there. This bridge closeout happened in 2021, I believe. It took them over a year to audit it. And when they finally audited, they realized that we had some money that was put aside an escrow that had to go back to the general contractor because he had to have a bond on work he was doing. And that the amount of money that we got paid that actually belonged to the contractor was $9,582.84. Well, the contractor noticed that when he got the paperwork from the final audit and said, well, wait a minute, the town owes us this money. They came to us, Melissa verified everything with them and with the state, and we do owe the money. I mean, we get paid, it's not our money. So I need to have, since we closed this, we deobligated, I think it was 52,000 left in the bridge project. We deobligated that back in 2022. We didn't get the audit results until 2023. So since we already deobligated, there's no money there. We have to take it out of the undesignated fund. So I will motion that we approve this appropriation for $9,582.84, and that's to the Trans Systems Corporation, and that'll do a final closeout of the Boom Bridge project.
I'll second.
Okay. Any other discussion?
No.
All right. So what I'll do is, if we approve this evening at the next Board of Finance meeting, probably not tomorrow, but I think maybe the one on April 2nd. I'll bring that to them then, because I'm not on their agenda for tomorrow for this. So, okay. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. There's no opposed, and Brett's not here. So we'll do 2 yes, 0 opposed, and no abstentions. Okay. I'll bring that to them at the first meeting that I can, which will probably be April 2nd. Okay. Next. Maintenance agreement. So when I gave this maintenance agreement, we looked at this a couple of meetings ago, and both you and Brett had some suggestions on things we could change. I think even Gary Anito had mentioned a suggestion of a change, and we changed all those. So Gary mentioned he wanted the words landlord and tenant put in, which I did. I think that Brett had mentioned in all cases, the town's purchasing policy must be followed, which we put in. And then also, I don't know if it was you or Brett said that any repairs could happen after contacting the first selectman or his or her designated agent first. So those are all put in. Everything else I think we were fine with. So if we vote to approve this, and Brett said once I sent him these with the changes, he was fine with it. So once we approve this tonight, I'll send this to the Board of Education. So I'll have to sign off on it, then they sign off, and then we have basically an MOA. And it's a living document that we can change over the next 2-3 years as we work on this together. It's probably not perfect, but it's a good start. So
It's
okay. So
more than what we had before.
So do you want to make a
Yeah,
motion?
I'll make a motion to approve the maintenance agreement between the town of North Stonington and the Board of Education in North Stonington, as written with the edits and changes that have been done.
And I'll second that. So now we open for discussion. If there's anyone here that wants to ask any questions, Gary, I know you're on the capital committee. You suggested one of the things that we changed. Does anyone want to ask any questions about this maintenance agreement? What it is, how it works? You're more than welcome to now. It's basically, an agreement. First time we've ever done this. It's an agreement between the town, who is the landlord who owns the buildings across the street, and the tenant, who is the school who operates in those buildings, and who's responsible for fixing what if there's maintenance issues. Up until now, sure, John, you can come up. Actually, why don't you grab that last mic on the table, because I don't think we changed the batteries in the other mics since last night.
John Gatcho on Norwich Wesley Road. Last night we heard that it was from Gary, it was brick and mortar, right? So brick and mortar to me is also plumbing. And I don't know if that was figured in, like hearing the Board of Education's meetings and stuff like that, attending there was problems with their faucets between automatic ones and things like that. And it was going to cost, I don't know, a pretty steep amount of money. Was that figured into the agreement? Because I didn't, listening to it, I didn't hear anything.
They had about
plumbing.
$200,000 worth of maintenance for the last couple of years. Myself and Alan Ladd, the foreman from the highway department, went through it and line item by line item. We came up with about 100,000 items off the top that we thought would be town responsibility. Plumbing is one of those, but it depends on where it is. So if there's a big plumbing problem and say that things get stuffed down the toilets and plumbing exploded, that's a big thing. If there's a leaky faucet that's dripping they're going to have custodian help that does this work. We're not going to go over there and change light bulbs and filters and things like that, ceiling tiles. They're going to have to do the day-to-day maintenance. However, if there's something's big that you would think as a landlord you would have to be responsible for, then we would have to do it. So what Gary's point is the brick and mortar part is if it's part of the building itself, we're going to look at it saying that's probably the town's responsibility. If it's something they've done to enhance the building to help with a program, whether it be a sports program or whatever program, that's on them because they've enhanced the building, whether it be a playground, cameras, those things. So we're responsible to have those buildings working efficiently and have them be safe for our students. But anything above and beyond is going to be their responsibility. I'm not looking to take this whole package, believe me, and hire extra highway people so we have our guys over there on a daily basis. Again, it's a work in progress. Now, let's say that as you said with the plumbing, where it's automatic versus a manual, we just changed some of those in this building actually back to manual. If that's the case, and we can't, myself and Stephanie can't agree on where the responsibility lies, we have in this agreement the ability to pull the capital committee back up to get, re-energize that committee, which has three board of finance, a board of ed, and a board of selectmen person on it. Since I'm on it, I'll abstain from that vote, that they can come in and they can arbitrate for us on where they think it should lie. So I think over the next 2 or 3 years, it's going to give some give and take, but it's a process. But I think we're making steps in the right direction. I mean, for us to just ignore those buildings, I think we used to just say it was all up to the school to maintain everything. But I feel we have, since they're town building, I'd like to have more control on how we do that. I don't want to have buildings falling apart where 20 years from now, where Brian will be rolling around in his grave. 20 years from now, so will I. If we say we need more new schools again because those buildings are falling apart, we want to keep these buildings up as long as they possibly. I mean, they used to be built buildings that would last 100 years. So that's it. Just so we have a little bit more control, John.
One more question. If you're going to abstain and it's a maintenance agreement between the selectmen and board of ed, would that make that the board of ed members from that capital committee should abstain?
Sure.
As well?
I think it would rely on I think the board of ed and the board of, whether it be Stephanie or I think Lisa Marzella is on that, and myself, we can make our point on why we think it would be ours or theirs. But we have 3 people from the board of finance on there. So, and that's why we did that. They are the biggest group and they can make a decision why they think it's one or the other.
Thank you.
John, I just want to, it does specifically mention plumbing under major systems, but it does reference things like the water supply and sewer lines. In my mind, faucets would go to the school to fix. I do think, Bob, that as we live with this and as things come up, if we're going to have a ruling made about a particular thing, then we should document that somehow. And whether we edit or add it to this document, or we at least keep minutes so that 10 years down the line, if there's another disagreement about changing out all of the faucets from manual back to, automatic, that we at least have reference and past practice, so that we don't have to keep talking about the same things over and over again.
No, I agree. It's kind of what they do in court cases, right? They refer back to a judgment that was made 10 years earlier. So I think it's great that we do document everything.
Yeah.
It makes sense. I also think that if there's something that's a philosophical change, it's going to cost a lot of money. If they say these automatic faucets don't work, we're going to go back to manual. Well, it's going to be, we'll have to get quotes. How much is that going to cost? And maybe that's something that the town and the school has to share, because if that's a change that they want to make and we get behind it, maybe it's something that we do a 50-50 on. But as those things happen, we'll have to address them.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you. Good points. Anything else, John? You good? Anybody else? Brian, you want to comment? Sure.
There
There it is.
Wasn't so hard, was it? As far as, I keep hearing landlords, so I guess we're the landlords of the land too, aren't we?
We are.
Okay, so I know there's been a lot of talk about they want to upgrade their fields or make their field irrigated and this and that, which is going to take contracts. So I don't know who's going to do the contracts. I know the school has quite a few contracts, so I think as long as the town is involved in that, because I don't think, I'm not saying they don't do a good job on their contracts, but I don't know if the town has a different way of doing it on the contracts for field irrigation or whatever. And we might, as landlords, we might say, well, we're not going to have it. We're not going to do it, for now.
No, so to start, just so you know, we started this week, rather than taking over the whole ball of wax, we said that we would do the schools and we would handle the parking lots. As far as plowing, fixing, patching holes, that kind of thing. Retarring lines and so on. So we're gonna do the parking lots and the buildings. They're gonna handle the grounds. If we find that they're not handling the grounds sufficiently, to your point, that's something we can do in a future, as this agreement changes over the course of time. But rather than try to take over the whole ball of wax, we know we can do the parking lots. They're not equipped to do those. We are, because we do roads, and we're gonna handle the building. But they have people that do the fields now. They mow. I mean, I don't want to send my crews over there just to mow the fields and get the baseball field ready for a game, and that's something they should be able to do. But I think it's a work in progress. If there's a big project on their fields, they would have to come through the town anyway to get approval to get that done. And we, as far as contracts go, yes, Alan's going to stop meeting on a regular basis with Randy, who's their superintendent of buildings. And they're going to go through all the maintenance contracts. I mean, it makes no sense that I have an elevator here and they have two over there. And why do we have two different vendors? So when it comes to our HVAC contracts, our elevator contracts, anywhere we have a contract where we're using different vendors, we should be using one. We can probably get a better price and we have more control that way. So they are going to start meeting on trying to combine those. So we're not doing things differently.
Okay. Well, that makes sense, but like I say, with the contracts, I don't know what the rules are. I think they're always supposed to take the cheapest one. Sometimes the cheapest isn't the better, as far as getting the job done. So I'm just more comfortable with the town looking at that, like you say, with Alan and.
So I think we're going to know a lot more in the next couple of years on how this was going to work.
Okay.
But I think it's something that the town's doing. It's different. For me, from the Board of Selectmen to take $100,000 out of their budget and put it into my budget, right off the bat, if you saw the budget, we'd be at a 4.12 increase if we didn't have it. And we'd be at a 2.4 increase with it. Mm-hmm. So, I mean, I love to present a budget which is 2.4 versus 4.12, but we're taking that money into our budget that was from there. So, I mean, that's part of the process, right? After we took the hit this year, next year won't be as bad, because if I'm taking 100,000 this year, next year it could be 80 or 120, but at least it's not the starting point where we are this year. If you understand what I'm saying.
Yeah. Well, I think that's going to be a big debate.
It probably is, and I get that.
I mean, you take 100,000. It's the same old thing. You take 100 from there. Well, and put it over here.
Well, that's why I presented my budget.
Add that back into the budget for them.
So if you notice, I presented it two ways because I want people to realize why the budget is, why it's different with the 100,000 without. So it's not something that's very transparent, it's hidden. So that means that, and we can say to the Board of Ed, well, if the town's taking 100,000, can you show me where it came out of your budget? Which makes sense, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
All right. Thank you.
Thanks.
Bob, where are we? I know it would depend on how much the cost is, the expense is, but where are we taking it out of? Are we taking it out of town property maintenance?
No, it has its own line.
It's going to have its own.
It's in there too. It's in the, look in the 30s. Hold on, I didn't tell you where it is.
School buildings maintenance, new. Thank you. Okay, so we put 100 in there.
Yep.
Okay, thanks. I just wanted to double check.
Thank you.
And I think that's great because then it's not mixed in with everything else. We can,
It's its own
Track it
line.
and
and
have
we
its own
know
line item.
exactly. And that's how, and some of the other things, like we have You Farmers has its own line, so we can track things like that.
Yep.
Gary, you had your hand up for a minute. Was that just a thought that came and went, or did you want to say something?
I think we're in an okay spot, but Gary and Eno, 91 Main Street. I was just going to answer Brian's question. The irrigation or the maintenance of the contracts on the fields in the real estate world would be considered a tenant improvement. The school is a tenant of the town. If they want to improve the irrigation on the fields because they have a need as a result of their business, educating kids, including sports, therefore the irrigation would be on the school. So the oversight of that, the engineering, the contracts, all that, in my mind, comes from the school capital budget or the school funding. I just thought that might clarify it a little bit for you. Cool.
Thank you, Gary. And Gary is the chairman of the capital committee also, so. All right, so we have a motion. Anybody else that wants to say anything about this? I'm actually happy to speak about it because the more we talk about it, the more people understand what we're trying to do. Anything online, Suzanne? Okay, we have a motion. Nicole will vote. So all those in favor of approving this maintenance agreement, I think you read the motion. We have a second. So all those say aye.
Aye.
Opposed. Okay, so it's 2-0-0. And I'll sign it. I'll sign an original, get it over to Stephanie so she can go through it with the Board of Education. Perfect. Budget discussion. If anyone was
sorry.
here,
if in the discussion, they have concerns, edits, suggestions on changes, would it come back to us?
sure, it'd be like negotiating. So they would make their changes, come bring them back to us, and then the Board of Selectmen wouldn't have to vote again.
Okay,
The only way this stands with us is if it comes back the same way it left. But if it comes back with any changes, we have to vote on it again.
Yep.
Good question. Thank you. So anyone here that wanted to have a robust discussion on budget tomorrow night, 7:00, we'd be more than happy to. That should be a 2.5 to 3 hour meeting. Last night was about a 2-hour meeting. And unfortunately, last night we did not get direction from the Board of Finance. So our budget is as it is, stands as it is. Tomorrow night, they will approach the Board of Selectmen budget, or town budget, and determine if they want us to cut anything out of that. And for your benefit, were you online, you said last night? So you heard it most of the meeting? Okay. And then they'll, after they get done talking about the town budget, they'll start talking about the Board of Education budget. Like I said, I think our budget's fairly flat. Without the 100,000, we're at 2.4, which is pretty much at the pretty flat with what inflation is. We have not added in the last 3 or 4 years any additional bodies, any additional equipment. Any equipment that came in for something that was going out. We did not sign into any long-term programs like we used to have OpenGov and Infinite Visions and things like that on the town side. We didn't do that. So I think we've done a really good job trying to be fiscally responsible. I did have a comment last night, and it had me think. One of the lines in our budget is about flock cameras. I was not aware, and I confirmed this today, that an individual could buy a flock camera, mount it, and then it actually becomes, it's like AI. Someone can use it for nefarious reasons to track. Someone who wants to track. It could be a neighbor, someone they don't like, spouse, whatever. But they can, once they have it, they get into the entire flock system. And the town doesn't have that ability. So, well, we can do it through the state police, but if you own a camera and you can put it on your street, then you actually can get into their whole system, which I didn't realize that could happen. With that said, and I talked last night about not having Big Brother in town. I don't want, if I thought for a minute that these cameras were going to start issuing tickets for going, as much as I hate people going through red lights and passing and doing things you're not supposed to do, speeding. Those are things that are happening, but I don't want to start taking pictures of people and sending out tickets. If they would have what I felt was, if there was a major crime in North Stonington, and we could solve it, or if a major crime happened in a neighboring town, and then that person who committed the crime is now in North Stonington, we would know that. So it helps to keep us safe. But now that I understand that there's a lot more to the story, I think we should vet it out more before we go forward with it. So I will probably not tonight, because Brett's not here, but I think on the April 1st meeting, even if the Board of Finance says, you're good, you don't have to take anything out of the budget, I think that's something I think we should take out. It's not a big number. I think it's under 7,000, but might be something we want to take out just until it's vetted out, because there's information it seems like I wasn't given. I heard about all the good reasons, but not some of the possible side effects. So,
Yeah, I don't disagree.
okay, great. Thanks. Other than that, there wasn't a lot said about our budget. It was mostly the Board of Education last night. So we'll see what happens. We always have the maintenance agreement that we could take money out of if we had to. But the Board of Finance has the ability to tell us and the Board of Education how much they want us to take out. What they don't have the ability to do is tell us where to take it. So they could say, we want you to take 20,000 out of this line. I'm not going to mention the line, but we can take 20,000 out of this line. We can go back and take 20,000 out, but not in that line. We can take it out wherever we want. It could be a 5,555 or all out of something else, but we'll see what happens after tomorrow evening. And do you have any questions about the budget, Nicole? Or you good with it? Is there any questions about the town budget at this point? I'd be glad to answer them. If anyone has, if you want a copy of the budget, we have them at Town Hall. We're on the 4th rendition of the budget, because what we started doing a couple of years ago, I think Winona Burdine asked, every rendition of the budget we have, every draft, we give them. So they see the very first one we had with no cuts, and as we make cuts through the process, they get the new one each time. So we're on draft 4. And again, we have copies at the Town Hall that you're more than welcome to take. Once we have an approved budget, it'll go online, but we're not putting drafts online because they're ever changing. But that's where we are now with the budget. We have, as far as town revenue, we've had a fairly good year with revenue. As I know, I talked to some of the CEOs and some of the other towns in there with these unfunded mandates that have come down from Hartford. They're backwards to start, and luckily for North Stonington, we're not. We could always have more revenue, but where we are right now does not put us in a bad position. And if you look and see what's on the table for the future, things are looking bright for town. We're in a growth mode, and I said we're in the growth mode in all the right places. You know, commercial industrial is going down near the highway. Farms are going where farms need to go. We seem to be doing things right, staying in line with our plan of conservation and development, and keeping the town the way people want to keep it. The reason why people stay here and why people move here, there's no reason to come here and try to change the town to something it's not. So anyway, that's where we are with the budget. I think we're in pretty good shape. We'll see after tomorrow night. I could be dead wrong. But,
Hoping not.
and again, anybody want to make comment? So do you want to make any comment tonight on anything, or can I answer any questions for you? Can I? Sorry,
Just for the people online, sir.
because the people online can't hear you if you're over there. So yeah, just push that button, and yep, and there you go. You're good to go.
I'm Britt Snodgrass. I live on Mountain Avenue, the extension of Legendwood. And I just came here tonight to meet you and ask about a process for potentially having the town eventually take over some road maintenance.
Okay.
Because right now the last part of that is unpaved, and the school bus has to come up there to turn around, and every winter, particularly this winter, the road gets pretty bad shape and muddy.
Mhm.
So I wanted to inquire about the process of getting some kind of maintenance, at least up to where the school bus turns around.
So in 2016, the town adopted 8 private roads to do somewhat limited maintenance on them. They don't get all the maintenance of a town road because the town won't accept them because they're not to town grade as far as the width and the thickness of asphalt, they even have asphalt. But we do grade some roads, we plow roads. Then there's some roads around the lakes, which Mountain is one that we don't. But what I have done is I've brought material up there for you on Mountain, Lakeside Drive, some of the other roads that are around the lakes where we can drop material. I think down the end of Patricia Road, we did it also. And then people who live in that area seem to move the material around. I'm not sure if you're one of those or not.
I am.
But I think the process is so you're considered part of the Billings Lake area, correct?
Yes, it would be
Okay.
part of that area.
Like Steve Colvin's up there and,
Right, he lives at the very end.
right. So, I can never promise you because it would be a town decision whether they could take the road over and it may have to have some upgrades before the town could take it. But the town will always listen to whatever you want to say. So if you want to visit me sometime, I'd be glad to tell you what the process is, but it's going to be a series of going through planning and zoning, and then through the Board of Selectmen to recommend it to the, for a town meeting, then the town would have to adopt it. So if I have the minutes from the 2016 meeting where the 8 roads came into play. Now, one of those roads, Armstrong Pentway, which is on Wyosop Lake, that this year just gets changed slightly. They were the only dirt road that was not getting grading. All the other roads were, and they weren't. They were getting material drop but not grading, and the town voted to allow them to get graded once or twice a year, so they're equal to some of the other roads that are on that group. This was done 2 administrations ago, was the Sean Murphy administration. So, yeah, we can entertain, you can come to us with anything, we'll entertain anything to at least discuss. It doesn't always fly. We just had a person wanted a speed hump on a road that didn't fly. And we talked about it, we vetted it out, and then it never got through the Board of Selectmen. So, but by all means, my doors are always open. I'm typically there from 7 to 4 every day. And if you need to meet me at night, I'd be glad to stay late if you need to, like after work or something. But we can work, maybe I'd sat down with the town planner and myself and you, we can talk about what the process is with no guarantees it would happen, but yeah, I'm not even sure. I'll have to ask Sean Murphy when he's away, when he gets back. He was the first selectman when those 8 roads get designated. I can ask him what the process was there. How did those 8 roads get on that sheet and how they get to a town meeting? So I could ask that question for you.
Okay,
All right.
so we can schedule a time to meet. I could probably meet with you anytime that's convenient.
Yeah, if you call me, I'm pretty much there every day. I mean, unless I'm in a meeting, you're more than welcome. My doors are open. You can come in, so we can talk about
Are
it.
you over at the main town hall or here or where?
So I'm in the old town hall.
Okay,
There's an old and a new. It should be old and newer because the new town hall is really not new. We're talking about that today. If we're doing fire extinguisher training, if it ever burned down, we could then get a new town hall. Because right now we have a semi-old town hall and a very old. I'm in the old town.
the white building.
Yeah, the old one. Yeah,
Okay,
can't miss me. First floor, 2 doors open.
okay,
It was nice to meet you. Yeah, definitely come in. We can talk about the process. Again, no guarantees, but at least I can put you in the right direction.
okay.
All right.
Thank you.
You know we have a town meeting form of government, right?
Yes,
Okay.
I've been here 3 years, but I've attended once on Zoom. This is the first time I've come in person.
Oh, welcome. You came to kind of a quick, boring
Yeah,
one,
you
but
came for a good
come
meeting.
tomorrow night if you want to be entertained. That'd be really fun.
Okay.
Thank you. Okay, anybody online? Brian, you want to talk about the budget?
Okay, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was at the meeting obviously last night too, and I took away a couple of things. I don't know if you missed them or maybe they were kind of subtle in it when they talked about, it was mostly about the school budget, but there was a couple of things about the Board of Selectmen's budget that I picked up. I remember one was, they didn't say, the person did not say lower the budget, but said transfer some of the things from one line to another. And it was about, the, what they call that thing? I call them the giveaways. And transfer maybe some of that money over to the senior center. I remember hearing that.
Oh,
comment.
also the social, you're talking about the social welfare
yeah,
lines?
yeah.
Okay. Mhm.
And I went through some of it today. So, and I want to get that to the Board of Finance and the Board of Selectmen. I'm going to write a letter because I think it's unfair for me to write a letter mostly about the school and nothing about the Board of Selectmen. And you know me, I always have a comment. So I just I'll write down the things that I saw in here and if I'll send them to you, but like I say, I don't know how to get them to the Board of Finance unless I can send them to you and maybe you can
I can
pass
forward them
them
out, sure.
All right.
On that comment, well, I know Brittany made that comment about social services. And so that, we know that this is Teresa's last year. She does a wonderful job, but she's retiring at the end of this year. And I talked to Suzanne about it, and we're gonna start looking into what a social services, group, department, committee, whatever for the town, if it makes sense, because we have people moonlighting as we have, Mrs. Costanza does a wonderful job with the school bank, we have the giving closet, and we have other things in town. Why not bring them all under one roof, help the seniors out, and come up with some sort of a social welfare body somehow. I don't know how exactly to do it because I've never started one before, but I have a good friend who's the first selectman in Griswold who used to be the head of their social services division. She's now the first selectman. I'm gonna ask her for advice. But I think it's a time that the town needs to start taking care of our own people. I did not disagree with that question or that remark. I will say though, when you talk about someone like a public like neighborhood, they give us quite a litany of things they do for the town. I think they had 191 people that are on their food bank list, and they had 23 families they financially assisted. They give rides that they don't even talk about. They have many people that give rides back and forth to doctor's appointments. So the only thing that, because they're in Pawcatuck, sometimes we think they're not for us. But they handle both Stonington and North Stonington, just happen to be in Pawcatuck. They could easily have been in North Stonington, but the building they got is in Pawcatuck. So I'm just going to say that they're one of those people that are not within our town boundaries, but they have enough evidence. They do an awful lot for the townspeople, our townspeople.
Yeah, I forgot to bring that paper, but I have that paper anyways from the Pawcatuck Talk.
But I do agree
all
with-
the different things they supply.
I think that some of the other people that we contribute to that are out of town, whether it be in Norwich or New London, maybe that some of that money should stay in town and do more for our residents. So I don't, if that's your point, I don't disagree with that.
Well, that's one of my
But
points.
that's
yeah.
a process. So that's something I can't make happen between now and this budget. It's something that myself, Nicole, Brett have to get together and really vet out. If we're gonna make this major move, how we do it? How do we do it? Do we have to have a director? Right now, Teresa's a part-time, she's a senior center coordinator and agent for the elderly, which by law we have to have. We can roll that all into one, but it might be a full-time position if we go full-time, and then we have to do benefits. So there's a lot to it.
Mhm.
But
Oh, I understand that. But I mean, like I say, I write it in the letter is, there's places in here, I feel the same way that could be shifted. There's some places we can eliminate. I'll just write it in the letter because I could stand here quite a while.
that's okay. Put it in the letter, we'll read it, and I'll pass it along to the Board of Finance.
That'd be great. Thank you.
Thank you, Brian.
Yeah.
Gary?
So Brian lit a spark in my mind, which is a dangerous thing. And I'm going to get in trouble because I promised my wife I wouldn't speak tonight. But I'm undoubtedly, my understanding of the history is wrong, but I'm going to articulate my perception, and I'd like you to correct me where I went astray. But the giving closet and the giving pantry, AKA the giving wing in this building, from my recollection or understanding, started as the Give Back Club in the high school, and it was set up. It was going to be non-impact to the town, da 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 da. And now there's this ask to provide funding, the stipend for people that are putting a lot of work in, doing a lot of great work. But if my understanding of the history is correct, it just seems like something that was sort of created by the school system and now is being imparted on the town to fund. And I'm having a tough time as a citizen wrapping my mind around it, but I'd like to hear the real details, how it all happened.
Okay, so first of all, take Mrs. Costanza out of the picture, because when she was the social worker from the school, she was doing this food pantry stuff on her own. Her and her husband Sal, you don't even know where they go. They just go kind of in the dead of night. They load up groceries and bring them to people's houses, and it's all done very quietly because people are proud. They don't want to think that they're getting handouts. And she knows who the families are because she was in the school for so many years. She knows who the kids are. We need a new pair of shoes, and we need a new shirt, hat, and winter coat, and we probably need food. So that's a different ballgame.
Other than it's now a giving away.
Because
And we know where I am on the facility, but let's keep going.
The only thing we did is we gave her a room to use in this building. That's a room we had. And if that to me is giving her a room of a building that's pretty much paid for by 3 different individuals, the school, the town, and the early learners, if it's a way we can give back to our community by having a food bank and she comes in with her husband, they do all the work. They don't ask anybody to help them. The Giving Closet was different. That came through the Give Back Club. And it started out as a nice idea. They still have the Give Back Club, but this idea that started with one rack of clothes over, I think it started out with maybe Lost and Found, and then it became more than that. It grew into something that was bigger than they could handle. So they asked for help, and then Sarah started helping, and Robin Pelia started helping, and Mrs. Schulke started helping, and it just kind of blossomed. And it's because people with big hearts, maybe not as much business sense as, because they're not business people. They were just people who wanted to do nice things for people. It kind of blew up to the point now it's almost like this monster that's out of control. So we're trying to have it pull back a bit, but we don't want to not help people that it helps. But I think, and that's where they've asked for the town to kind of step in and help a bit. But I think there's more organization that needs to go on there. And maybe that's something that if we ever do some sort of a social program in town, maybe it encompasses that, because we know Mrs. Costanza is not going to be able to do this forever. I don't know about the people from the Giving Clause, but it might be something that the town has to embrace. But I don't know. That's a leap from where we are today. But I think, again, I think it was just a nice thing that a small group of people wanted to do that kind of got out of control because they were doing more and more nice things. And then we know that there's people that don't always need, but they'll come anyway because if it's free, it's for me. You see when these groups give away turkeys and they give away things at Thanksgiving, and you see some of the cars that are in line, amazing, like they can't afford a turkey really. So, but I don't think they've figured out how to vet that out yet. It's a process over there too. So it's just, again, that's where we are with it. It's got a lot more of organization that has to come into play, especially if the town's involved. We're going to ask, once they become a 501c3, we're going to ask them to report back to us, so like the Pawcatuck neighborhood does, and give us a kind of like a budget of how much money they spend and where the money comes from and how many people from town. I think she said the number was 46. And then I think she doubled back and said it's higher than that. I mean, I like to think that the majority of people that they help are from North Stonington, and not, I know they want to be nice to everybody, but again, we should take care of our people first. So
it would be nice to understand the governance of it, because it started with the school, it became the Giving Closet. Now it's become funded by the town. So somehow there's got to be some structure set up on this thing to understand who owns what and who's responsible for what.
Yeah, and I think that we agree with you. And I remember one of the conversations we have had about this is that we dropped it from 35. The ask was 35. We dropped it to 20. But correct me if I'm wrong, it was with the stipulation that they organized, became a nonprofit, and only then would they get the money.
Mhm.
So that all has to happen. And I do think we've talked before about how quickly it got big. And I do think that they need help with that governance and that structure. I know that it's certainly in the budget right now. I agree with you in the fact that if in the next couple of weeks before this is completely final, we decide that it's really just an appropriation that we're going to give them this year to become organized and put some structure to it, rather than a full line item in the budget that we're going to be faced to have to deal with year after year after year, I would be open to that too. But we don't disagree with you. We think that if the town is going to start to devote money to it, it needs to be, and I had asked Sarah, point blank, what if 2 out of the 3 people that are currently managing it decide that they just can't anymore, or they're moving out of town, and where does that leave the money that we've given them? So I think that there are still a lot of unanswered questions, but I thought the 20,000 was dependent on them organizing, putting some structure, and becoming a full nonprofit.
So that's 100% correct. So there is a stipulation that they have to do that this year. And then there's nothing that's saying if we fund something this year, we have to fund it next year. We find that it's not going the way the town thinks it should be, we don't have to fund it. Once you put it, once it's in, doesn't mean they have to keep coming in every year and getting the same or more money. So, and you can remember I said that next year when we talk about this, which I'm sure we will. But I think we're gonna put some checks and balances because when the town's involved, being good stewards with our taxpayers, we don't want to spend other people's money, including mine, including Nicole's, because we're residents, and not have it spent correctly. So, again, it's something new. It's a process and we'll get through it. And hopefully next year, there's a lot more organization to this. We know where we're going. So.
Perfect. Thank you. Thanks for listening. And if Steph calls you, please tell her I was nice.
You were.
She won't believe you.
Well, it's recorded, so she can watch the meeting. Anything else on the budget this evening? Okay, hearing none. Again, there'll be plenty of budget talk tomorrow evening. You want to do tax refunds?
Yeah.
Perfect.
Yep. So I will make a motion to approve tax refunds to the grand total of $3,172.40 to Melissa Hyde. Is that Hyde?
Yeah, it is.
100, that was $402.88 and $480.36 to Lease Toyota, $131.55 to another Lease Toyota, $357.97 to Tracy Clark for $50.23 and George Applegate of $243.89 and $410.10, and finally to Ryan Taylor for $1,095.42.
Okay, second that motion. Discussion. Typically, if you want to know, we can't budget for this because we're not supposed to budget because we never can budget for tax returns. But typically, if someone sells a car and they get taxed and the town doesn't know that they've sold it, sometimes they'll come in and go, hey, you're taxing me through October. I sold the car in July, and that's how these things kind of happen. So usually it's not a big number. Anyway, it's any more discussion. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Okay, so it passes. There's a second one, Nicole.
Oh,
It's a small one. 366.96.
I'll make a motion to approve tax refunds in the total of $366.96 to Lease Toyota for $321.18.
And I can't wait for this one. I want to use it, pronounce this
And
name.
Anita Chandrasekaran for $45.78.
I call her Anita C. I don't know how to say that name.
Chandrasekaran.
I believe it. $45.78.
Yep.
Okay. Okay. Any discussion? Hearing those, I seconded that motion, by the way. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Okay, I will sign these and get these to Jennifer tomorrow, and then those checks will go out. All right, next, old business. We have no old business this evening. I've got no vacancies or appointments. Will tell you, I went to the Hewitt Farm Committee meeting last week. They could use a few new members. They're down to 3 and a maybe. Tim Chokus is agreed to be the chair. And yeah, instead of advertising, the word of mouth, they have some people that are friendly with that might want to get on, people that similar, taking care of the farm, cleaning trails, doing the things that they do. So if they come to with some names, we can add to that. Other than that, I've got nothing. Public comment. Is there any public comment of anyone that wants to say something before we leave? Hearing none. Anything online? Okay. Then our next meeting of the Board of Selectmen is April 1st. The next meeting that we'll attend is tomorrow for the Board of Finance. I'll entertain a motion for adjournment.
I will make a motion to adjourn.
Okay, second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
So we're adjourned.